What up? It's your boy Wall Street, and I'm back. And today, I want to talk about Tom Thibodeau, who I recently talked about because he was let go from the Knicks. And I just want to talk about if he will get another NBA head coach position. Because I think a lot of people, well, let me say it this way. There's a lot of people that are on both sides. One of which is heavily defending Tom Thibodeau and saying that he should not have gotten fired and he's a great coach. And then the other side saying, this makes sense. I knew he was going to get fired. He sucks as a coach, yada, yada, whatever, right? I'm kind of in between, right? I'm not necessarily saying that the guy's the best coach of all time, but I don't think he's a bad coach. I think he knows what he's doing. I think he's a good basketball mind. I just think there are things that he does that are not conducive to long-term success for the basketball teams that he has ran, essentially, right? So the first thing that I want to bring up is that Tom Thibodeau is the winningest active head coach in the NBA. Well, I guess he's not active anymore because he's currently not a head coach. But let's say that he was a head coach for the moment. He is the winningest active head coach in the NBA to never have an NBA Finals appearance, right? So his overall record is 578 wins to 420 losses in the regular season. So that's 998 total games coached, right? And his playoff record in 103 playoff games is 48 and 55, which is 46%. So there's a drop off of about 11%, right? When he gets into the playoffs, and I think that's really just correlated to the fact that he plays his guys so much. So I think this is really the problem here, is that I think people are now getting to the point where they just don't really care how good of a coach he is. They're just like, oh, well, he can't make it to the NBA Finals, so why am I going to hire this dude, right? And I understand that that's the ultimate goal, is like winning a championship. But at the end of the day, it's not that he can't ever get there. It's just going to take some time. And I think he just has to learn to not play his guys as much, because I've talked about this time and time again with my friends on this channel that these guys in the NBA are playing training camp, right? They're playing in practice in training camp, through all of September, right? They're playing preseason. And some of the stars aren't playing every preseason game, but let's call it 4 or 5 games, right? Okay. Then you're playing the regular season, 82 games, right? So we're at a lot of time on the court, right? And you're traveling at the same time. Maybe you're not, getting as much treatment as you need. Injuries come up. And then you get to the playoffs, if you're lucky and you're a good enough team, right? And it's unlikely that you're sweeping every series, right? But even if you do, right, that's 12 games added on to that. So you're right around 100 games played just to get to the NBA Finals, right? And a lot of these guys in the league aren't playing every single game. But Thibs is a guy that, you're going to play. He's going to play. He would play his starters 48 minutes a night if he could. But I think he knows that he can't do that, right? But a lot of people, I think, are scared because, especially, from the Derrick Rose days, Derrick Rose was playing a lot of minutes, and then he's, sustained all those injuries, and it derailed his career, right? Went from the youngest MVP in league history to being a guy that was, regularly coming off the bench, just a couple years later. So I think people are scared that by hiring Tom Thibodeau, their team is not going to make it far enough because they don't have the energy. No team has the energy to be able to play that amount every night. Because a lot of these guys, a lot of people think that, a lot of these NBA players just want to sit out, right? They just don't want to play on a certain night. I beg to differ, because that's just if you're a professional basketball player and you're a star player, you have to understand how much work you have to put in to get to that point. These guys want to play, right? I think there's very few out there that are I just don't want to play. I'm sure there are some, but I just don't think that's the case. So I think these guys want to play. So if you told Jalen Brunson, like, I'm going to play you 44 minutes tonight, he'd be like, all right, bet. Like, no problem. And I think that goes for a lot of these guys. Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns. I think it goes for, like, a lot of these guys, not just on the Knicks, but around the league. So I think teams are weary to have him as a head coach because that means he's making the decisions on the rotations. Right? I think he could be a great assistant coach because he's going to run these guys ragged in practice. They're probably going to get a lot better by just having to practice really hard. And, I think he's a good personality to have. He's proven that he's like a tough-nosed dude. He gets in the faces of these referees. He's very passionate about coaching, about the game of basketball. So I can't sit here and say that he would be a negative addition to anyone's coaching staff. I just think ownership for certain teams and, management, general managers, the president of basketball operations, they're going to have a tough time saying, this is our head coach, being Tom Thibodeau, and, thinking that, like, it's just, I think it's a hard thing to commit to, especially now that there's been a lot of, like, evidence towards the fact that he's going to play these guys. He's a very, like, stubborn individual in a very good way, I think, where he's just like, he does not care. He's going to do what he thinks is right, and what he thinks is right is playing his best players as much as possible, right? Which, I mean, I can't fault him. It makes sense. It's logical, but guys need a rest, right? Like, your best player might become your worst player if he has no gas in the tank. You know what I mean? So I think we'll see Tom Thibodeau around the NBA. I don't think he's done, but I think it's going to be more likely than not that we see him as an assistant coach as opposed to a head coach. That's just my take right now. But maybe I'll be wrong. Tom Thibodeau is a Connecticut dude. Always shout out my Connecticut guys. So I'm with it. If he gets a head coaching job, I'll be nothing but happy. But I just think there's a lot of noise in the air, and I think it's going to be tough for him to secure a head coaching job right now. But I would love to see him as an assistant coach. I think he's a great personality to have around the NBA. Even as an analyst or a commentator, I think he'd be great. So I hope we see Thibs around the league, around the game, because I would be remiss if we didn't see him anymore. I'd be upset. So that's all I got, guys. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Do you think we'll see Tom Thibodeau get another head coaching job in the league? If so, do you think it'll be soon? Do you think it'll be one of the current vacancies we have around the NBA? Let me know. But I'm going to check you guys later, man. Stay safe, stay up, stay blessed, stay humble, handle business, stand on business. Peace out.